All right, boys. For the first Good 90 remote, here we go.
Here it
Very
is.
nice.
All right, let's
Sound
just
like
do a quick check in. Brady and I are in Monroe. Wyatt, where are you?
I'm in Livingston, Louisiana, like 30 minutes outside of Baton Rouge.
Mr. Shelby.
I am in Bentonville, Arkansas, about 6 hours away from Monroe.
Yeah, and you're up there for the summer.
Yes, I am. I'm
Okay.
here on a construction internship for a
Learn how to
company
work.
called Crossland. All right. For a company called Crossland Contracting. And yeah, it's down the first week. So it's pretty cool.
One
So you
weekend.
didn't do nothing?
Good stuff. Good stuff.
It's the hardest week.
Wow.
Syllabus
All
week.
right. So, what we wanted to do this summer is take a look at this book called Just Do Something. So, it's a super short book. Mason's holding it up. It's by a guy named Kevin DeYoung. It's been out for a few years. I've talked to a few different people that have used it for things, and I've read it and then reading back through it. It's still pretty good. It kind of hits right where a lot of people y'all's age, I feel like, are. And so, but that doesn't mean it doesn't apply to other people as well. So we're going to work through it and talk a little bit about chapter 1 tonight. And so I guess maybe a good way to open discussion is just, I mean, we can kind of go around. Whoever wants to start can start. It doesn't matter. But kind of give me something that stood out to you, some kind of starting point for what hit you for this book. Chapter 1, sorry.
Chapter 1.
I thought it was cool
How-
that he called us all tinkers, because I think I would fall in that category. Because like, I know my roommates especially, or maybe even my dad. I get it from him, but like the fact that I'll be obsessed with something for like 2-3 weeks, and then I'm done with it, and I'll go into the next thing, whether that be like golf or guns or I don't like music. I don't know, just something like that. But the way he describes it as like we can't like commit to something. Like we have commitment issues. I just thought that's like the first thing I thought of was that.
Yeah, he said that, like you said, tinker is the idea, like kind of dink around with stuff and not make a full on commitment. Yeah. So, and that's kind of his idea. What he's saying is that this generation is kind of like that. Not that others haven't been that way before, but that this one in particular is like that.
Yeah. I just feel like I was reading it. I mean, I didn't know what to expect from it in the first place, and I was reading it, and I hadn't seen someone put it in like my thoughts into words
Yeah.
in a way of how like I'm just searching for the will of God, and that's what he's talking about. How sometimes in our search for the will of God, we sit there and do nothing, and we wait for him to unfold everything, and without even just trying. And where is it at? Man, I can't find it. But it's basically saying like the youth, like today, the adolescence or whatever is growing like longer and longer and longer. Like we're not growing up in a way, which it's a very short chapter and he goes further into it. But it's just kind of cool how sometimes I just sit there, I'm just waiting for God to like show me, but I feel like that's not how it really is. Like just waiting on him to just drop it in my lap.
Yeah.
And put that in a way that was easy to. What was that?
Well, no, yeah, it's cool how you kind of put it into perspective there. Like I know that I'll sit here and wait around on like a sign for God from God to be like, just like a beaming light or a big heart shaped cloud in the sky, like something right there. That's like, all right, God is telling me to go do this, and I'll shout Wyatt out because I know he didn't come up with this. He probably quoted it from somebody. But
Joey Martin.
yeah,
I know what you're about to say.
and it's the pray, guess, go, and basically you pray about it, you make a guess, and then you commit and you go to that decision, inviting God into it. It's really easy to just kind of get swept up by everything in this world, waiting on a moment that's not going to come to you unless you act.
Yeah,
I would have thought you would have went differently than just a heart-shaped cloud. I mean, I thought you would come up with at least a more manly shaped cloud than that, but whatever.
Like a
What,
bulldozer
like
shaped.
oh yeah, telling me to go hop
A
on the
hammer?
bulldozer?
I don't know.
What was that thing you
Yeah.
kept playing with? Oh man, your little box cutter they got you. Yeah, man.
What,
it was-
Yeah,
yeah,
My
show the
box
camera.
cutter I've had for 2
Yeah,
years.
yeah. Show the camera.
But,
The one they supplied you with. Yeah.
They didn't. Yeah, this is mine. No, I'm not even going to show the camera. No,
Why not?
they can't.
That's
Because
fine.
y'all are
Well-
just gonna make fun of me once again.
Yeah.
By the way,
Well,
this isn't the first time this has happened.
300 miles away still doesn't change anything. So
No, it doesn't.
get used to it.
Well, so like in that idea of waiting on it to happen, and so it's. I do wonder about that sometimes, if that's how many of us and whatever time, how many times we've done that, where we just wait and it causes us to not do anything. Like I heard this one person talk one time about how someone will ask them to do something, and they'll say, "Well, I'll pray about it," and
Yeah.
almost like that's the reason. Well, I got to make sure. I pray about it first and kind of fill it out or whatever. It won't. It might be. There's a lot of things God's just asking you to do that you're just generally asking you to do as far as being in obedience to Him, and sometimes our let's pray about it type thing is more of us stalling and not being bold enough to step out there and do
Yeah.
whatever it is. Like the general call to follow Christ, and we'll say, well, I better pray about that first. Well, okay. I mean, like go on a mission trip, but you don't need to pray about that. You just need to check your calendar and see if you could go, because I'm pretty sure you're called to serve. Like it's not or whatever, anything like that. Where we want to say, well, let me pray about it first. I mean, and to sound almost like very mature and very responsible as with my faith or whatever. Well, okay, maybe you're just dragging your tail and you don't really want to do it too sometimes. And so
Yeah.
it's a good thing to check yourself on that.
No, yeah. We kind of forget the point of like faith without works is death. Like, I mean, we can't sit around and wait on it to happen. Like, I know we talked about that in an episode a while back. I can't remember which one, but
Yeah.
Probably all of them.
yeah, really all of them. We just repeat everything we say on these, but
That's what
but
Jesus
yeah,
did.
it's so easy to just like focus on what we think, like what makes us feel the best. Like, oh, like this piece of scripture is so easy for us to comprehend and easy for us to just be like, oh, like I'll do it this way. And we tend to miss a point more times than most, or more times than
absolutely.
not. I don't know how to finish that one.
Yeah. So I thought, and I know we've quoted Romans 12 more than once, but I always thought about this when he's talking about this is the pattern of the world, like he said, like adolescence, and just taking longer. And you were talking about those percentages earlier of guys that don't complete the milestones, and we can read that quote in a second. But those are the patterns of the world right now. But then we've talked about this Romans 12:2 stuff. It says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will." So, if the problem is that dudes and girls that are coming of age aren't really stepping into life, and it's they're not willing to take that first step or whatever it is, they're willing to just kind of be in this wait and see mode for a lot of life, then we're conforming to the pattern of the world. Like we don't have to do anything, so we don't do anything, and that's kind of the formula for how we exist in the world today. But Paul writes pretty specifically that we shouldn't conform to the pattern of the world. And if we want to know God's will, we have to transform our heart and mind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to that so much. Just with my walk with Christ over the past, I don't know, 8 months or so. Like, you sit there just saying, like, man, I want to be a godly man and all these things, but I'm still in the pattern of the world. Well, I don't think there's waiting seasons in life, but I don't think there's, like, you don't just when you think about waiting, you just think about sitting. But when you're waiting on Christ and you're waiting on, okay, God, what do you want me to do? Like, you're still actively pursuing God. Like, there's not like, oh, well, I'm not going to stop reading my Bible until God, gives me the call, and then I'm going to start reading it again. Like, it's this, hey, there's in this time of waiting, you're still trying to be active and bear fruit. And that kind of, we talked about that or when we were doing some planning for it, for this episode. I have it written down. He talks about us being tinkerers, and we are less fruitful and less faithful than we ought to be because we're tinkerers. And I think in my life, in my past, I've tinkered around with God a lot and kind of got bored of it, and then just walked away from it because I didn't feel anything, I didn't see anything, and that's not what we're called to do. We're called to follow Christ every single day. And yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that. But I think what I'm trying to say is that, like, in your waiting seasons, are really, like, if you're waiting on God to do something, like, you first need to be on the track, like get your X's and lows aligned first, and then you say, hey Lord, let me invite you into this, because I mean, in my life, I was saying, God, I want to be a godly man, but I wasn't actively pursuing God, and so that kind of it's kind of a double negative there.
Well, it's one thing to wait on God and to wait on His timing, but that doesn't mean we wait on being who we're called to be.
Yes,
it's one thing to wait for a door to open up or be waiting for the right person to come into your life or whatever, those kinds of things. But that does not change what we do. I mean, we're waiting on God's timing for something maybe to happen, but who we are, who He's called us to be, we don't wait around for that. That's the problem, because who God's called us to be requires full commitment. And if we're a generation of tinkerers, if we're kind of halfway in on a lot of stuff, or if we just kind of get real serious for a while and then back up, well, then we have trouble committing. And so that's the real rub. And the quote that you read from the book about not being fruitful, that's the problem. And so we have to work out of that. And because the longer we sit on our butts, the less fruit we produce, then the kingdom doesn't expand, and we're not living into our purpose. And I think so many times we're always like, well, once I graduate or once I get this job, if I only had this job, then I could really succeed in life. Then I could really pull through. Or if I only had this debt paid off, then I could really move forward. Well, you still have to move forward right now, like in who you are. Like, today is the day of salvation. Like, God's called us to be His people now. Other things that are good that are going to happen to us may take a while to happen, but that doesn't change who we're called to be.
Yeah. So, but no, it was good, because a lot of, like, nowadays there's so much. I guess we're switching modes here, but, like, there's so much you can do. Like, coming into college, I remember they gave me the list of, like, majors. And I don't know if it was for y'all. It was like a page or a page and a half, little font. I was like, "Holy crap, that's all!" I didn't even know there's that many jobs. Like, I knew I
thought there were like 4 jobs.
But, like, I cannot. Yeah, I'm like, what?
Doctor, lawyer,
I knew what I was to do.
dentist.
But I can't, like, kids coming in that don't really have it figured out, and they look at this sheet, they're like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
And it's almost like nowadays we formed to, like, have so much. We want to give people as much freedom as possible, like, to freely choose and this and that. And I think he says about in the book, and he says, with everything I could do and everywhere I could go, how can I know what's what and what's right? And when I read that, I was like, wow. So it's like our freedom, like what we thought was our freedom, actually became like a prison to us. And it's like, he says, well, maybe our freedom should be a little less of just trying to get as much as we can, as much options in this. Maybe more options is not good. It just kind of throws us in a whirlwind. And then we're like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to sit and wait for God to tell me what to do. And then a week passes, and then a semester passes, and then a year passes. You're like, oh, well, maybe I need to, like, get up and do something. Maybe I need to pursue this person, like this who God has called me to be as a man of Christ, a woman of Christ. And, you know, doors may open up in that
Yeah.
way. It's not, we can't just sit on our rear and just, you know, God will drop it in my lap and it's going to have the play by play, what he wants me to do. Like, I think that's when we're searching for the will of God, that's a confusion we can fall into.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting on it.
No, I mean, I had a super tough decision about this summer, like what I'm living right now. Do I go back and be a whitewater rafting guide, or do I come here and go on an internship and do something to better my career? And I had to do something about it. And kind of going into that next part of doing something in my walk with Christ all the way up until now, I chose, I could say I chose something that might be a little bit harder from the disciple standpoint of like going out and spreading, because I mean that first day on the job site, you know, the language going around isn't really what I heard last summer or really anywhere else ever in my life. And like, it's a hard place to not get like swept up in and just conform, like go with the flow and be like, oh, all these guys are cussing, working hard, working in the heat, they can cuss because they can, or do this, do that. Like, it's so easy to be like, just follow their lead and to not preach, or to not, maybe not preach, but like to truly love, or just, yeah, to spread the love of Christ because no one else is doing it. And this is a harder world that we're in right now. If that made any sense.
What better place, though?
You're absolutely right.
Like, that's something I would have, like, again, I would have had that same exact mindset. And I probably still would if I was in your situation. But it's like, man, it's in the place where I can grow as a Christian, surrounded the heaven's gates, you know, up in Colorado, whitewater rafting with unicorns. Like, that sounds awesome. I feel like I could grow as a Christian great there, but like, you know, where would Jesus want you to be? Like, those guys are working hard. They're probably stressed. I mean, like, again, they're cussing. They're just filled with probably just hate for stuff. I mean, it's a tough life. And like, what better place would need the peace of God, the peace of Jesus, like what he could bring into their lives? You know, like, I feel like that's, just listening to you talk, that's a place where I think you should be, knowing you.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm saying that, like, or what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that like I had to check myself right when I showed up, because I immediately wanted to conform, to like go with the flow of how everything's moving on the job site or in this community that I'm in. And I really had to like take a step back and look at myself, be like, why did I truly make this decision? Yes, there's a lot of money factors involved and all of this stuff, but like, I could go, you know, last year, like you said, Colorado was a perfect place to grow me as a Christian, and I believe that I needed to be there last summer. That was huge for my faith. But like, now it's time for the work. Now it's time for me to get out there and go do what he asked me to do. Yeah.
Well, and there's that one of the songs that's real popular on Christian radio right now is that Psalm 23 song, and so it's by your still waters I'm safe. And just remember, you got to remember that, like, that still water stuff, like, that's, yeah, the clear mountain streams of Colorado, or the duck blind, or the deer stand, or whatever, you know, even in South Arkansas, those are great places of peace. But the still waters that Christ leads us to aren't necessarily these physical places. Like, it's our state of mind. You know, it's transforming our heart and mind by his Holy Spirit to who we're supposed to be. It's the peace that passes all understanding in the middle of all those situations. And so the real Christian, to me, the real follower, is the person who can be in the middle of the storm and be calm because they're connected to Christ. It's the person who can, in the middle of chaos, still understand that there's still waters for your soul that you're constantly being enveloped in. And so like that's we got to be like salt to be effective doesn't just stay in a stupid salt container.
Yeah.
It's out, on the food, and that's where we got to be, and we got to live like that, I think. And again, that's a lot to do with, are you really going to do something, or are you just going to stand there? And I know I sent this quote to you guys, and I want to read it just because it's such a cool
awesome
quote from Fight Club.
Yeah.
And this isn't the whole quote, so there's a couple pieces in here that I think are still important that aren't in about what I'm saying. But he says, we're the middle children of history, no purpose or place. We have no great war, no great depression. Our great war is a spiritual war. Our great depression is our lives. We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't. And we're slowly learning that fact. And we're very, very pissed off. And so Brad Pitt says that in Fight Club. And it's so true of people, like why people are so angry all the time. In some respects in our country, it's because they haven't gotten what they deserve. And if we're going to be like lights for Christ in the middle of all this, then we have to understand that our great war is a spiritual war, and we're in it right now. And we know the cheat code in a sense as Christians, but everybody else is in the middle of the same spiritual war, and they're trying to fight it without the armor of God. They're trying to fight it with no purpose, and they're angry and frustrated about what they don't have and what that doesn't seem like they're ever going to get. And so we have got to be the ones with the level heads, the transformed hearts and minds, so that we can bring the light to those people.
Yeah. How crazy is that? How we went from, not we, but we're mad that we didn't get what we deserved, but then you swap it to the fallen Christ, that mindset, like, thank God I didn't get what I deserved. It's like kind of like that complete polar opposite. And it's like it changes your viewpoint of just your life in the world in general. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, the peace that is with God, like just understanding his character and being that, like you said, that we're the salt, we're the light. It's like you don't light a candle at 12 at noon,
right?
Like you got to be in the midst of the darkness to have any effect. And salt, you can't keep it in the little salt shaker container. You got to get out and do something.
Yeah. like in Elf when he always has his syrup in his pocket or whatever. Like there's this kid named Nick who used to be a part of Wesley Ministry. We were on a camping trip one time, and he brought out his own little thing. It was just like Elf, but it was Tony Chachere's, and he brought it on every camping trip that he ever took on. He's a Boy Scout, and he always had it with him. And I'm like, yeah, it's really good for you to have it, but if you don't share it, like what are we doing? So if you just keep it hid up your sleeve, who's that's not doing anybody any good.
So you're jealous of Nick and his...
No, I was. I thought that was a good move for a camping trip, honestly.
Yeah. Man, I think
he had his own little tube.
He went to Bell South Diner, is what he did.
Smart dude. That's what I thought. But yeah. So I'm gonna read this verse from Hebrews, and this might be a good way to wrap it up and land the plane on this first remote podcast for us, and maybe we'll do even better next week with chapter 2. But maybe we'll just go around the horn for you three guys and tell me what you think of this verse and is it how it connects to what we've talked about tonight. So this is Hebrews 10:39. But we do not belong to those who shrink back and are destroyed, but to those who have faith and are saved. So as it relates to this idea of going forward into life and into this spiritual war, like, what do you think about those words? We do not belong to those who shrink back and are destroyed, but to those who have faith and are saved.
Yeah. It's honestly like he's talking in this book about sitting and waiting. And I think that just takes faith out of the equation in general. Because, I guess you could have faith that God's going to answer you, but I don't think that's true faith if you're really not stepping out and like, man, I don't know what's about to happen, but I know, God's with me. He's not going to let me just, you stepped wrong step, stupid. Yeah, like he's with you. I think again, like we don't shrink back and just let life hit us in the face all the time. Like we have the armor of God, and He's gonna be faithful to us if we step out and have that faith in Him. That I know if I just do something, but I do it, I keep you in the midst of it. It's gonna bear fruit, and that's His promise. He's not gonna just leave us hanging. I think that's a good start. Him starting this book. That man, you just got to step out and get something going.
Yeah.
God's going to be faithful if you keep him in it.
Yeah. Good. Wyatt?
Y'all hear me? My camera is like lagging so bad.
Yeah,
I can hear you and see you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I know, but like, am I talking?
Yeah, no, you're looking to
Yeah,
the right.
I'm looking to the yeah. I've been eyeing
We
it
can
down.
hear you. It's
Anyway,
fine.
yeah. I think just like Brady, you just keep God in the middle of it, and what Mason said earlier about the pray guess go thing. I mean, I've had so many questions of people asking me like, "Oh, what are you doing in Jacksonville? Like, why are you going?" And man, I just tell them I'm like, I have no idea what I only have a title. That's it. I have no idea what I'm going over there to do. I don't know anybody over there except for maybe one person that I went to camp with last year. And he's not even at the church that I'm going to be at. And, but I always go back to the Exodus story. I said, if God had those people and delivered them out of Egypt, I said, he's going to deliver me too. And, I've just put God at the forefront of it. I said, God, here you go. Here's what I think that you want me to do. Let's see if you want me to do it or not. And he's been so faithful. Whether it goes down to my position that I got, or fundraising, or just the connections that I've already made. He's been so faithful with it. And so exactly like Brady said, keeping him in the front too. And also I think in that verse he talks about like you're not conformed to the world. Is that what it says? Something
Yeah,
world?
in Romans, do not conform to this world.
Or what does the Hebrew verse say? I don't have it.
Don't shrink back and be destroyed.
Okay, yeah.
But we're of those who have faith and are saved.
Yeah. So at the end of it, for those who are saved, like if you are saved and in Christ, like man, you don't have to worry about that, and you are a new creation in Christ. And so with that comes of just taking steps and taking risk. And Brady said this earlier. He was like, or maybe he quoted it from the guy, but he said that the freedom that we think that we have in doing things our way is like a prison. And, with Christ, like, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing in Jacksonville, but I have freedom in knowing that my God is a big God and he's going to deliver me for whatever case scenario like that does come. And so, just there, it's not really risk when you're doing it with God. It's more like, hey God, I'm going to follow you, and I think you want me to do this, and I'm going to put you first in everything that I do. So, yeah.
Good stuff. Mason, what you got?
I mean, yeah, y'all kind of. It's hard to fill the gap on such good answers, but like Brady and Wyatt were saying, being a Christian is one of the hardest things. Or let me rephrase: being a Christian who is trying to live the right way is one of the hardest things to do in today's world. And if you think it happens like in the blink of an eye or upon a prayer to God, like I wish it was that way, but he calls us to move, he calls us to act, and he calls us to go. Like, just whatever you do, invite him in and bring him with you, and you have no idea what a little mustard seed of faith could do for you. And just acting on that whim acting on that little mustard seed, you just got to go. If that makes sense.
Just do something.
It does.
Do something.
It's a good title for a book. So I do think that this idea of shrinking back. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're like, what are these idiots talking about? I don't even understand. Well, A, you probably should pick up this book. It's not a bad one. But B, I bet you right now with your summer, wherever you are, whatever you're doing in your life right now, this day here near the end of May, that God is calling you to do something. And so you can either shrink back and just kind of cower down and maybe kind of wait, or you can take a step forward in your faith, whatever it is. And maybe it's something small, maybe it's something big. And don't think that you have to wait until you get it all figured out to take a step forward. Just take the next step forward. Like I know we've talked about that a bunch. We've said that phrase a lot. But I would say don't shrink back, because what happens is that once you start doing that, then you start to do it again and again and again, and it'll kind of just destroy you. I remember one of my years playing Little League, and then we'll shut the podcast down for this tonight. But I remember the first game of the year, I took some swings and I struck out. I walked, and I think I hit. I got a base hit, and so. But I think the last time I was at bat that game, I walked, and I kind of quit swinging for some reason. And then I got in that mindset of, hey, if I just look at these pitches, I'll probably, in the next several games, I just didn't swing the bat, and I was destroyed basically as a baseball player for that summer or whatever. I wasn't any good because of that, because I wouldn't swing the bat because I was too afraid. What if I missed? What if it was a swing and miss? What if it was a K? What if I hit it and it didn't really go very far? And so I just didn't swing. And so that's like the worst thing that you can do as a Christian. It's okay to swing and miss. It's okay to foul them off every now and then. It's okay if they get caught, but you got to swing to be in the game at some point. And so that's what I would say, like wherever you are, don't shrink back from what God is calling you to. And I think most of you, if you're listening to podcasts, you know that there's something in your life that God's calling you to that's not exactly super comfortable, and it might be a little bit of a risk, and you might have to make a commitment in order to get out there and do it. But I would say, please do that. Do not shrink back and face destruction. So anyway, but yeah, that's a good 90, boys.
Good 90.
Great 90.
Adios.
Catch you around.
How do I log off of this thing?
See you, sinners.
All right.